They say the four C's are a critical element of the future of learning. We're going to talk about that next on the EdTech vlog. Hi, I'm Dr. Matt Harris, and this is the EdTech vlog. So I'm coming to you today from Tel Aviv, Israel. What a beautiful day. It's on the Mediterranean, a beautiful city. It's February, and look outside. Look behind me. Isn't that just amazing? It's absolutely gorgeous today. So I'm in town for the ORT Educational Conference on the Future of Learning, and they were kind enough to invite me to be a keynote to talk about what does education look like over the next 20 years. My presentation, which I hope to share online later, is around planting trees for the future, putting things in place for our education, our educators and our schools to make sure we're doing what's right for students as the world changes around them. And I gave my presentation a few hours ago. It was absolutely fascinating. And the things that we were talking about afterwards really got me thinking about a number of the concepts that I put within the presentation. One of them in particular that seems to have the most resonance with people here, and something that I find I'm talking about more and more in schools, is this notion of the four C's of 21st century learning. So you've probably looked online in numerous places. There's about a gazillion videos on YouTube about the four C's, but they really don't talk about why they're so important. They focus on what they are. They can be rather descriptive, the tools, but they don't talk about why they're key. I've actually led panels on these items. I've talked about them frequently, but I wanted to mention them here, just to give you a little depth of why these four C's are so important. So we'll get to the four C's in just a minute. I want to talk about the state of education and learning right now, just so you understand the basis for where we are and why this is so critical. So education has changed, and it's changing even more and more day by day because the world has changed. So just think about modern education and its place within the world about 100 years ago. So we were in the throes or the ends of the Industrial Revolution. There were a number of large wars that had happened. And what we needed is education to train people to build the world, as it were. We needed people to be factory workers, to be knowledge workers, to do things within the labor sector. So that's where education started en masse. The problem is it really hasn't changed. And with the influx of technology, the availability of transportation, the free movement of information, the digital economy, as it were, the needs of education have shifted because the world has shifted. And now what we're finding is, instead of us needing to focus on discrete content knowledge, as we end up testing on, and I'll talk about that another time when I talk about assessment, what we need is a set of skills. And the set of skills that students need to be productive, to be professional, to be efficient members of society and the workforce fall into these things we call the four C's. The four C's are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. Now think about those things: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. They encompass all of the best attributes that we see in people that have the greatest impact in the world right now, right? Those four items: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. Now let's talk about why. So think about the first one, communication. Now, to say that the four C's are only attached to the 21st century is totally wrong. We have talked about communication, God, forever, right? But the world of communication, the tools and modalities and the requirements have changed drastically. Technology has removed barriers between countries and languages and nations and cultures, and has added a set of tools that require a level of articulation and understanding of those tools that go far beyond what we used to teach. We used to teach the written word, expository writing, creative writing, maybe the ability to communicate verbally with people, maybe argumentation, but there's so much more now. The ability to use a vlog to give out information or to send instant messaging, and being able to articulate and use the norms and communication styles of those pieces to understand your audience, to get your message across, is critical. So a student's ability to get their ideas across, regardless of medium or audience or time or geography, is absolutely critical. The way that the world works is you have to be a communicator. You have to understand how to communicate and why you're communicating. So it's different than before. It's more mature because the world has become more mature. And along those same lines, we also have to work with others in a different way. So education has always included group projects and project-based learning in some respect, but we haven't focused as much on the process of collaboration. We've always told students that they need to understand where they fit within the group dynamics doing some large-scale project, but we haven't talked about how to collaborate. How do you collaborate when you're asynchronous? How do you collaborate when your teams are across the world? How do you collaborate when you have an undefined task? Those are skills that we absolutely have to have for the future of work, for the future of learning, for the future of just about anything. So collaboration, the skills, experience, knowledge around working with others in a team is vital. Now let's talk about the next one. Critical thinking. Now critical thinking, again, is nothing new, but given the absolute glut of information, of fake information, of tools towards getting knowledge these days, having a critical eye, the understanding of how to evaluate and draw conclusions is vastly important, more so than ever before. Education used to be a lot about using information for purpose, regurgitating, as it were, content that was consumed at a specific point, or applying a theory, or maybe applying a formula. There's so much more now. Now we have to teach kids how to address confounding variation and bias, how to take information from multiple sources that both seem valid but are conflicting. What do you do there? What do you do with the prevalence of fake information that's out there for a very specific purpose? We have to teach students how to do that, because those are skills they have to be productive in the knowledge economy. Employers, governments, families don't want to hold your hand when they tell you something to do. They want you to be a critical thinker. And finally, creativity. Creativity has come into vogue and being that much more important these days because consumption isn't needed as much anymore. Knowledge and data and information is available through search engines. I'm doing this on a mobile phone in Tel Aviv that can answer most of the questions I have about cultural specifics related to being in Israel. But my ability to create, to take knowledge and build something new is a skill I have to have. Now, of course, there's a balance of teaching kids how to consume and how to create, but the ability to create for purpose, to solve a problem, to be artistic, to attempt things and fail is absolutely valuable. And that's one of the key elements of creativity that we have to teach, that failure is good. Failure is valuable, and failure is part of the learning process. Most things in life don't have a final exam. There isn't a specific task that ends today and now we're done with this particular project and we're not going to revisit it. There's a continual movement. There are no direct paths, which means we have to be creative in the avenues we take, and we have to be prepared to deal with the failures along the way. So that ability to be creative is incredibly valuable for all students, and we have to use that to our advantage to help prepare them for the future. So those are the 4 C's, and they're absolutely valuable. They're hugely important for learning now and into the future, but we haven't figured out how to assess them. Of course, maybe I'll talk about that on another vlog at another time. But as you're building your school for the future, make sure that you have implemented the 4 C's for all of your learners, be they students, teachers, parents, or anybody in your community that's learning needs to communicate, collaborate, think critically, and of course, be creative. Hey, do me a favor. At the bottom here, you'll see there's a couple buttons to subscribe to my channel. So I talk about a number of things related to modern education, along with all the items I talk about around educational technology, which honestly facilitates a lot of this modern education. But I'm going to talk about other things like design thinking and digital citizenship and computational thinking and innovation in some subsequent videos, and I'd love to share them with you and start a dialogue. And speaking about starting a dialogue, please follow me on Twitter. My handle is @MattHarrisEdD, and I share a number of articles that either I've written or I've come across in my research. I have discussions with people about these topics quite regularly, and I would love to have you join the discussion to share those interesting exchanges about what the future really looks like. So yeah, It's been a great trip here to Israel. I'm really enjoying Tel Aviv. It's a wonderful temperate day again in mid-February, and I'm going to go enjoy the city. So hey, thanks for listening, and have a great day.